Hello, you guys. Happy Sunday and welcome back to another live. How are you? I hope everybody is well this post full moon. Let me know how you guys are dealing with this post full moon energy. It has been very intense. My dream state has been active almost every single night, and I'm getting a lot of downloads, and a lot of ascension symptoms are just kind of kicking in at this point. So, let me know how you're feeling below. Hi to everybody that's joined. It's great to have you here. I hope you guys enjoyed that live last week, Sunday. It was very intense and I shared a lot of information. So if you still have questions about that, feel free to drop them in the chat and let me know. So today, what we're going to talk about and what I want to share with you is I want to talk about ascension symptoms. And I know a lot of people are familiar with ascension symptoms, but I want to clarify and I want to go into a little bit more detail about symptoms that you probably don't hear spiritual coaches or mentors talking about, right? That are kind of unfamiliar or that kind of or may seem so foreign that people are shy away from talking about them. So if you have any ascension symptoms that you would like to share, please feel free to drop it in the chat box below and just open up the conversation around ascension symptoms and the normality of that. So let me start off by talking a little bit about ascension symptoms. So everybody knows that ascension symptoms happen during your awakening or your spiritual journey. You will experience symptoms in your physical body as a reality of more light and more consciousness entering your body. So the symptoms look different for everybody. They do not look the same for everyone. And that's where a lot of confusion happens, and that people tend to compare themselves with other people on the journey because let's say one person has experienced some symptoms and another person has not, right? So again, there is no comparison because the symptoms look different for everybody, and the symptoms are not indicative of where you are in the journey. Yes, certain symptoms appear at certain stages at the journey, but it doesn't mean that's where you're stuck at or where you're supposed to be or where you're going to remain. It just happens differently for everybody based on your own timeline and based on the amount of work that you've done and essentially where you are in the journey, right? So again, don't compare your ascension symptoms to someone else's symptoms and to say, oh, I'm more far advanced than you. It's not a race. It's not a game. And ascension symptoms could be very dangerous because they do border on a lot of mental emotions, right? And there's a fine line between a mental illness and ascension symptoms. And I'm not a medical doctor, so don't take this as medical advice. But again, you have to know the difference. You have to know what is an ascension symptom and what does that look like and feel like, and what is a mental illness. Okay, so let's be very, very clear about that. So now you know a little bit about ascension symptoms. I want to say that ascension symptoms will remain throughout your journey. Like I said, there's a beginning part of it that you'll notice some symptoms early on. There's a middle stage and then there's a later stage. But all throughout, specifically my journey, ascension symptoms have lasted and they continue to last, and I still experience them today. So it's not uncommon for one symptom to remain with you throughout your journey, okay? Some of the symptoms do remain with you. And I want to also add that ascension symptoms look different for females and males, okay? For a man, it's very different than for a woman, especially women have their cycles, right? So again, there's different outcomes and it affects men and women very different. So I could kind of speak to both because I know men who've gone through the awakening process, so it looks very different. So let me know if you guys have any questions. Are ascension symptoms fun? Ascension symptoms are not generally fun. They manifest in different ways in your body. It may not feel great most of the time, but again, this is why I always go back and I say that it's important that you keep a journal or a record of the ascension symptoms that you're feeling. I did this earlier on in my journey, I just opened up a Word document on my laptop and I started typing out some of the Ascension symptoms that I was feeling at that time. And I still update it from now on. But because I'm so seasoned at this, I'm aware of what's an Ascension symptom and what will pass and what isn't essentially an Ascension symptom. Does that make sense? Let me know. Okay, let's start talking about this. So what are some Ascension symptoms that happens that people don't generally talk about or you may not be familiar with? As a woman, one of your Ascension symptoms will be shifts in your cycle, essentially your period. And what is that? What do I mean? And what am I talking about when I say this? So I'm not talking about the flow of your period, right? I'm talking about when your period happens. So if you look at, and this is why I've said this before, you need to start paying attention to the moon calendar. I pull up the calendar every month for the moon, and I jot down, when is a new moon happening, when is the full moon happening, because during your awakening as a female, one of the Ascension symptoms is that your period will start to align with the full moon and the new moon. Every month there's a full moon and every month there's a new moon, and your period will shift depending on the season, and it will start on the new moon or it will start on the full moon. TMI, but right now it's winter and mine is starting on the full moon. So yours may be starting too, but when the spring comes, it shifts into the full moon. So you need to be acutely aware of when it's shifting and why is it aligning with the new moon and why is it aligning with the full moon, okay? And very, very different things come up during your cycle on those moon phases. So you need to pay attention to what is coming up in those cycles. Does that make sense? Let me know. Okay, so that is one thing. You will notice the shift in your period, and that is that Ascension symptom that tends to happen later on in the journey. And that's how you know that you've really embodied this divine feminine energy and this goddess energy, is when your cycle is aligned to the moon cycle. That is a very, very helpful tip for you right there, right? Once you know that it's changing and aligned with the cycle, then you know that you are in alignment and that you have essentially have enough light in your body that this is happening to you. Okay. Another Ascension symptom that a lot of people don't talk about is unusual growth. So I know that kind of sounds like, what, are you growing an extra arm or a finger or a leg or something like that? But no, you're not. It's I just didn't know how else to phrase it. But you may have noticed abnormal growths such as hair, okay? Like, let's say you are a dark-haired person like me. You may notice growing on your arm fine little hairs, like white hairs, or you may notice feathers, little tiny baby white feathers growing from your arm or on your leg or something like that, right? So these are abnormal growths, and that's what I'm calling them. And it's nothing to be afraid of, but what is happening, and again, you'll see this depending on your starseed family and your light body and your level of consciousness, this type of growth, right? So some people see feathers, some people see white, fine little hairs. And again, it's just your light body coming through, right? So it's higher, it's lighter. Feathers are very light, so is white, fine hair. And you may see these abnormal growth and changes manifesting on your skin and in your body. And again, this happens, for me, it happened mid-journey, around mid-journey it starts happening, right? When that light really starts to infiltrate and settle into your body. So again, you might see little unusual growths like that. Let me know if you guys have any other stories about unusual growths or any changes you've seen on the outside layer of your skin. Okay. You may also notice a shimmer to your skin. You might notice, not like glitter, but like the right word is shimmer. You might notice a little shimmer to your skin. You might notice it glistening in certain lights. You might notice that your skin has become a lot more smoother. All of these things are attributed to Ascension symptoms, right? So again, you need to pay attention to that. Another symptom that a lot of people don't talk about or share is the aches and pains. During your ascension symptom, you will start to feel aches and pains that may feel like a chronic illness. You will experience them probably in your back, your legs, legs, yes, like just the lower region, you might experience them. And again, it won't feel comfortable. None of the ascension symptoms are generally comfortable, right? They're all very like, what the heck? But the aches and pains, they come and they go, and that's just your body attuning to the light energy, right? And just rebalancing itself. So again, just think of it like a restructuring, but the aches and pains are real, and they do last, I would say, throughout your ascension journey. Okay, so again, that's a very painful symptom that a lot of people don't share or don't talk about. And again, right, you may not have these symptoms throughout your whole entire journey. They could be with you in the beginning, towards the middle, or the end. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Okay, another symptom is sleeping or extreme fatigue. I experienced this probably earlier on in my journey. And again, if you guys know my story, this is while I was going through law school. So can you imagine that? Here I am trying to study, but then here I am extremely fatigued and wanting to sleep all day. So it is like a different amount of sleep that is required, because you need this light body and the light codes to essentially infiltrate and to kind of soak into your body, right? I don't know a better word for it right now. So you're going to need a lot of sleep, and you will feel very, very fatigued, not only at night, but especially during the day. You will want to be sleeping almost all the time. And I do think it is an abnormal amount of sleep. I don't think it's normal. And you will feel rested, but again, it's extreme fatigue. You just feel tired. I experience it even now. I love sleeping. Sleeping is when my subconscious is the most active, and my dream state is constantly active. I'm getting a lot of downloads. So it can be a great time, this extreme fatigue, and you can get a lot of information and a lot of downloads. So it's not really something bad, but again, people generally, when they talk about ascension symptoms, they talk about it as like you're sleepy, but it's actually more than that. Again, it's extreme fatigue, right? Okay. Another ascension symptom. Let me know if you guys have any that you want to share. Okay. Another ascension symptom is changes in your appetite or aversion to certain foods. This is a huge ascension symptom, and it will change throughout your journey. In the beginning of your journey, you may feel like you don't want to, eat sugar, or you want to reduce your intake of salt, or maybe you don't want to eat meat. But then in the middle of your journey, it may look very different. You may be still eating eggs and decide you just can't eat eggs anymore. Later on your journey, you might decide that you want to be a pescatarian. So it's constantly shifting, and your aversions to food is constantly changing. Does it get to a point where you will be finalized in your list of foods that you're okay with? Yes. But again, that happens later on in the journey, where you are very rigid and stuck in what your appetite is and what your aversions to food are. So again, it takes that length and that journey to really go through that and to see what your body is able to consume and be okay with eating. I went through it. It was like horrible. It's to the point where now it's like I don't even like food. And I know that sounds like, okay, well, that's not very I don't think it's supposed to be like that, but I'm very, very selective of what I eat. I am very much a picky eater, as you would call it, and I have aversions to so much food. Not even looking at the food, I can tell if this is fresh, if this is spoiled. You just become so attuned with food and just the energy of food, and you really want to have food that can sustain you and nourish you and provide you with the nutrients that you need. So it's also like I mentioned, this aversion to food, but it's also like attuning to the energy of food. So like I was talking about before, you're able to just look at food and just be like, no, like that's not for me, or like, no, that's like gonna go bad in a couple of days. Like you're able to pick up on that frequency when it comes to food. So that tends to lead for people to being a little bit more pickier and a little bit more selective in what they're eating, right? So again, you will notice the changes in your appetite, and you will notice that a lot of the things that you were once eating, you're no longer able to digest or eat, or you may have an aversion to it. So again, changes in food and appetite is an extreme ascension symptom that happens very on in your journey. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Okay. Another ascension symptom is a very, very active dream state. So initially when this happens, you may just think, okay, this is a normal dream. I'm just dreaming and sleeping. But as you progress through your awakening, you will start to notice that it's a bit more different than that. Your dream state becomes active to the point where you're remembering your dreams. It's extremely detailed. It starts playing out in your 3D reality. And then you realize the importance of your dream state and the activity that is happening there. And that's why I'm saying you welcome this fatigue that's happening, right? Because yes, you're sleeping in dream state, but it's also very taxing on your physical body and your subconscious and your mind. So when you're experiencing the extreme fatigue, it helps you replenish and restore rest in your body. So that's why I'm saying it's a welcome, right? It's not something to be mad about. So again, the dream state will be very, very active. This continues early on in your journey into the middle stages, and later on I still experience this, a very, very active dream state. And the dream state is, it's a lot to process. It's a lot to delve into, and I don't want to really do that in this live. Okay, so that's an ascension symptom. I'm trying to think of some like abnormal ones that are like unusual ones that people don't commonly share. Another one is purging. So you'll notice this again during the moon cycles. And purging is essentially a heightened state of emotions, right? You will usually find yourself very upset, crying. It may feel like depression, and you will just feel very sad. And it's essentially a purge where you're purging these ego-based emotions, or these emotions that keep you very low vibrational. And again, it borderlines where it will feel like you're depressed. And I want to, highlight the fact that like there's a very thin line between depression and mental illness and ascension symptoms. So obviously I'm not a doctor and this isn't medical advice, but you need to be aware what is actual mental illness and what is an ascension symptom, okay? Because a lot of people get that very, very confused. And like I said, there's a very fine line for it. So that's why I said keeping this journal would be very helpful to you, because when you're noting down the ascension symptoms, you're able to see when it's going to pass and like what's coming up during those ascension symptoms, and if those are real things that you should be genuinely concerned and upset about, or if they are just something that is passing by for you to release. Do you see the difference in that? So again, you really need to pay attention to that. So the purge is this state of being a heightened sense of emotion, which usually looks like I said, crying, depression, sadness. And again, it's rough. It generally happens more so in the early stages of your awakening, into the mid stages. In the later stages, the advanced stages, it doesn't happen so much. It depends on, again, the moon cycle. Like this last November full moon was very, very intense, and a lot of people who are later on or more advanced spiritually experience this purge, right? But then, and I was experiencing it, let's be honest, right? And then you need to actively, and I noticed it, and I said, okay, well, this I looked at the moon calendar, I looked to see how far we were along in the full moon's energy, and I was like, okay, this is not real, This is not something that I actively have to be upset about in my 3D reality. This is the moon's energy triggering and affecting a purge, right? And then the next day it's gone, right? And you're no longer upset. So that's why I'm saying you need to know the difference. You really need to figure out what is a genuine, true ascension symptom. And if you had this like this log or this journal from earlier on in your ascension journey, then you would know and you would be clear about what it is and what it looks like for you, right? So again, all the ascension symptoms are very different. And I also want to mention too that, like, don't compare your ascension symptoms with other people's ascension symptoms and how long they are at the journey. You'll find a lot of people in the spiritual community are still very much based in ego and very much think that they're better than some people because they're more advanced spiritually. That's not the case. The ascension symptoms happen at very different times for people, and they're not indicative of where you are spiritually or where you are in your journey. Yes, some symptoms happen later on in the journey, but like I said, it's dependent on who you are as a person. So don't carry that burden, don't carry that ego, and don't impose that on other people, and don't take that to heart if people are imposing that onto you, because they're not indicative where you are, right? I could be experiencing something that you've never even heard of. Does that mean that I'm, more advanced than you? Maybe in some aspects, but in some aspects, no, right? So again, it's not linear like that. It's not measured linear like that. So again, just keep that in mind when you're talking about ascension symptoms. Okay. Let me know if you guys have any questions. I'll be happy to answer them. Okay. Let's just see. Another ascension symptom that a lot of people don't talk about but should be mentioned is the airwax. So this will start earlier on in your journey, the airwax. It will feel like there is literally wax pouring out of your ears or melting out of your ears. I don't know any other way to describe this, but that's what it will feel like. Your ears will constantly bother you, okay? And it will be due to this wax, and you will experience this again earlier on in your journey, in the middle of your journey, and it will last in the later stages of your journey. It is something that is constant, at least for me, that kind of what it's like. Like I said, it's crazy. It literally, your ears will constantly be bothering you. It feels like it's just melting wax every single day, and you will feel like you need to go to the doctor and get this examined because you probably think that you have an issue, but you probably don't. Again, consult your medical doctor, but you probably don't. It's a common ascension symptom, but a lot of people don't talk about the severity of it. So again, it is your light body that is releasing this wax, and that is attuning essentially your gifts and your sensory abilities to different frequencies and different light energies. So it's a normal symptom in some ways, but it's a very annoying ascension symptom that does not go away because, like I said in the last live, your gifts are constantly growing and they're advancing. So that is one symptom that will stick with you or tend to stick with you throughout the entire journey. Does that make sense? Let me know if you have any questions. Those are all the ascension symptoms that I've noted down for today that I wanted to talk about, but I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I could share with you. I think those are the main ones, right? The changes in appetite, seeing any unusual growth, the purges, the sleep. Those are the main ascension symptoms and the most ones that people experience, but yet they don't talk about how severe or drastic these symptoms can be or get. So yeah, I think that's a really good insight for you. Let me know if you guys have any questions or if you have any other ascension symptoms that you hear or that you are experiencing. Someone has asked, are ringing ears an ascension symptom? Yes, ringing ears are an ascension symptom. They happen very early on in the journey as your ears start to attune to different frequencies. You'll experiencing ringing. You'll usually experience them during the night. You might experience them when you're outside in the day, but they will go away. And Eventually, when you're in the middle of your journey, you won't experience the ascension symptom of ringing ears any longer. You will experience this melting wax, or the air wax as I called it, right? So again, some of the symptoms shift as you progress through your awakening and through your journey. Same thing with the aches and pains, right? In the beginning, it might be aches and pains in your back. And again, as you go through the awakening journey, they may disappear all of a sudden, or you may start experiencing in your arm or something like that. What about ascension symptoms in dreams? So I've talked about this like earlier on. I said that like your dream state, an active dream state is a sign of an ascension symptom. An ascension symptom, can you experience ascension symptoms in your dreams? Yes, you can. That looks very different, and that's a little bit more advanced. For example, you could be in dream state and you can be going through a purge or this state of crying or very heightened emotions in your dream state. You can be going, and again, not all of it is like horrible, or like upsetting, like the crying, right? You could have instances of enjoyment or pleasure in dream state that can also be an ascension symptom, right? So again, even though you are asleep, you could still be experiencing ascension symptoms. And sleep in itself and this extreme fatigue that I was talking about is an ascension symptom. So it kind of makes sense, right? It goes hand in hand. Yes, you're experiencing this extreme fatigue, and while you're in the extreme fatigue, you're experiencing the ascension symptoms, which both of them combined will elevate you to a higher level of consciousness. Does that make sense? Let me know. So again, there's a lot going on with ascension symptoms. It's a very, very loaded topic. A lot of people have their own opinions about it. A lot of medical professionals, scientists, and people in, medicine basically have their own view and look at it, right? So do I think it needs to be studied further? Yes. Do I think it needs to be explored? Yes. But again, if you have this journal or this log where you're actively writing down the ascension symptoms that you're experiencing, I think it will be beneficial to you that you have something that you can write down and look to and be like, okay, I know that this is something that I was experiencing at this time. So again, the ascension symptoms change. Some may stay with you, some may change in the way that they look or the form of them, but it is common for everyone in a spiritual awakening, a journey, to experience ascension symptoms at all times. Okay, so let me see if there's anything else I want to add about this or talk to you about. Let me know if anyone has any questions. Like I said, the ascension symptoms are not always bad, right? You may think they're bad, but then while you're going through the symptoms, you start to realize, okay, it's actually helping me, right? They kind of go in hand with what I was talking about in the last live with your gifts, right? So if you're having the ascension symptoms, they're also kind of, as a byfactor of having them, they're helping you with your gifts. So it's like, would you not want them? Because then you won't have any advanced gifts, right? So you kind of do want them. But again, they're annoying. Yes, I will admit that they're annoying. They can be confusing, especially earlier on the journey, where you may think that you are mentally ill, and then you realize, oh my God, I'm not. It's just an ascension symptom, right? So in that sense, yeah, it does get kind of complex. It does get kind of confusing. But I think this is why, again, this journal or this log that you have where you're writing it down can help you greatly. And like I said, there's this thing where there's this tendency for people to compete with other people about their ascension symptoms, or like, I'm having this, you're not having this, that means that you're not there yet. That's not true, right? I've already talked about this. It does not indicate where you are in the journey. Yes, some symptoms happen later on in the journey and in the advanced stages, but again, they happen for people at a different rate, and they happen for people at different times, depending on a lot of other external factors. So it's not really a nice thing to do to compare yourself with other people on this journey, because everybody's journey is different and it's going to look different for every single person. And I think that is some confusion in the spiritual community about spiritual awakening and what it should look like. There are certain aspects that are similar, right? Like, so how I've talked about earlier, like your period should be aligning with the new moon and the full moon. Yes, that's very much a factor that indicates where you are at a later stage, but it's not indicative of like you are stuck there, or you're never going to get there, or you're never going to advance or anything like that. It's just a good guideline. And I think that's the right word for it, right? It's a good guideline of like where you are. And, you know, it could be used as a very helpful tool to get you where you need to be or where you want to go. So it's very important, like during your spiritual awakening and your ascension, that you keep in mind of these things and don't play that comparison game. Because if you start if you start playing the comparison game, that's indicative that you're still in an ego-based mindset, right? And you still are very much controlled by the ego. So then there you go again. Like it's just a never-ending game, right? That you just don't want to be a part of. So again, you have to be very mindful. Why are so many individuals awakening in today's society? So the reason I'm talking about ascension symptoms today is related to this question. It's because in the coming new year, we're going to see a lot of people waking up or experiencing a spiritual awakening or an ascension. And I want to get this information out there so that people have it when this time comes. A lot of people are waking up into today's society because of the state of the planet. The planet is essentially dying. It may not look like it, but again, if you look a little bit deeper and do some research, you will see that it is, right? And what is happening is that we've essentially killed it or are killing it. And what is happening is a rebirth or a rebalancing of the planet. And this is where like you really need to broaden your mind and think of this concept of oneness and really understand that we're not separate from the planet. We're not really separate from the animals. And I know it may seem like that because like they're three different like entities, so to speak, right? The humans, the animals, and the planets. But it's actually one ecosystem that actually plays in together and feeds off of each other. So because we all live on Earth and it's a living, breathing organism or entity, and we're essentially killing it, there's been a restructuring and a rebalancing that's happening where a lot of individuals are starting to wake up and realize that we need to shift and we need to try to raise the vibration of the planet so that it can sustain itself and that we can continue living on it. So that's why more people who are going through an awakening are able to do that. They're able to hold the density of the planet, the negative energies, the toxicity that is happening on planet Earth. They're able to carry or burden that weight. And because they are of light bodies, right? They're light beings here on Earth. They can sustain that energy and they can help shift and manipulate and harness different energies to shift the negative energies that are affecting planet Earth, right? So for every, like I said before, I gave the statistics for every, I think it was, what was the stat that I gave? It was like for every one person that is a light body, they can affect 10,000 people. So again, that's the impact of one person. So that's why we're seeing the shift where a lot of people are awakening today and are going to help sustain the energies and the frequencies of the planet to ensure that they exist. So we are going to see a rapid increase in spiritually awakened people in the new year and the upcoming years. We're going to see a lot of people experiencing these ascension symptoms, and we're going to see changes in the planet, which we are already seeing, right? We're seeing flash floods, we're seeing wildfires, we're seeing climate change, we're seeing a lot of things, and all of it. So that's why you're seeing it. It's this rebalancing. And you're seeing the rebalancing on the planetary scale, but you're also seeing the rebalancing in the humanity, right? That we had mass deaths in wars and in illnesses like COVID. And that's what it is, right? We're seeing this rebalancing where a lot of people who are of dense energies, unfortunately, are the byproduct of this. So again, there will be a lot of people awakening, and this is why, and it will continue for the next 3 to 4 years before we see any sort of result of this rebalancing or restructuring that is happening on a global and a mass level. So again, this concept of everybody being an ecosystem is what people really need to keep in mind as they go about their daily lives, and really try to factor that in to your actions and to your thoughts, and to I guess a broader sense of like what is really happening in the world, and how is this all playing into each other, and what does it mean for the long-term existence of humanity and our planet, right? So again, if we continue this and living the way that we do as humans, what does that mean for the planet? There is not going to be a planet. So again, this is wild, because this is where you see like a lot of extraterrestrials, and like people saying, they're seeing like spaceships and all these other things. Like a lot of that is real, right? So a lot of the other beings, and I don't want to go too much into this, but a lot of the other beings and the entities, they're aware of very much of what's happening here on Earth, and they are scared about what is happening, right? So they do offer some assistance, and they do, try to assist in some manner. But again, that's like a deeper conversation that I don't think a lot of people are ready for, because a lot of people in the collective are generally not there yet, which I've said before. So again, that's Ascension symptoms. That's why I'm talking about this today, and that's what we can expect in the near future. If you guys have any more questions, let me know. If you would like to book an energy reading, just DM me, or you can send an email to alignedcreate@gmail.com. The energy readings are fantastic. They will show you the doors that you're not able to see yourself, right? So essentially, it's your choice if you want to walk through these doors, and if you want to change your life or not. That's the power of the energy readings. I can see things that you're not able to see. And again, some of these opportunities are able to change your life. If you are interested in private mentoring, just click the link in bio. You're able to also join the Sovereign Circle broadcast channel. That is the link in bio as well. You can also join our email list. That's link in bio. And we are on all social medias: TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. The link is in the bio. And we are live every Sunday at 2 p.m. You can bring all of your questions about spirituality, manifestation, or energy work, and I will be so happy to answer them. And I wish you the rest of the day is good, and that you enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Bye.